Lori from Bookishly Lori, and today I wanted to bring you guys 10 tropes that I love. So let's get right into it. Alright, so I'm going to start from the bottom of my list and work my way all the way up to the top with my absolute most favorite trope. So another thing before I get started, I want to challenge you guys. I want to challenge you guys that when I'm reading these tropes, I'm not going to recommend a book that uses these tropes well. I want you to leave a comment below. If you hear one of the tropes that I love and that is your favorite trope too, or you know a book that does it really well, challenge you to comment it down below, and we'll see if I agree, if I've read that book and I agree that that trope is done well there, or I'll find some new books to add to my TBR that way. Alright, let's jump right in. So, number 10 on the list is the road trip trope. I love when characters go on a road trip either to find something or to reunite with someone that they haven't seen for a really long time. It's always really fun because it's usually like 2 to 4 characters that are like obviously in this very confined space. They're in a car or a vehicle or something, and they have to make stops along the way, and it's kind of like an adventure story that they're, you know, doing different things and different activities, but at the same time there's a destination at the end that they're trying to reach. And I think it's always things happen in road trip stories, and of course there's like music and the characters getting closer and learning more about each other and learning things that they never knew about the other character on the road trip. So I love the road trip trope. Number 9 is Good Gone Bad, or the villain origin story. I love this trope because I love villains, and I think it's really interesting sometimes when we get a villain's backstory and we get to see why they became the villain of the story, or like it's always usually some like kind of childhood trauma, or you know, some kind of traumatic event that caused them to be the way that they are. And I like seeing how like they slowly go from, you know, a good morality that's understandable and things happen, and slowly and slowly and slowly they kind of drift into the villain role. And it's interesting because, you know, they always say everyone's the hero of their own story, and so it's interesting to see how the villain thinks that they are doing the right things, or, you know, just the different perceptions of the villain character. Number 8 is the star-crossed lovers, or the doomed lovers. I mean, this is one of the most classic literary tropes that are out there. It happens in so many like books, so many movies. It's, you know, the Romeo and Juliet star-crossed lover trope, like it happens constantly. And I love it because whether it's, you know, the families are tearing them apart, or there's some kind of external force that is keeping the two of them apart, or they're not supposed to be together, but for whatever reason they end up falling in love, or I just love it. Like, honestly, when I think of star-crossed lovers, one of the books that I think of, I said I wouldn't recommend any books, but Daisy Jones and the Six, no spoilers, but that is like one of the best star-crossed lover tales ever. I love them. Anyway, number 7, I love when books have an open or bittersweet ending. I love when books don't just have like a very set like happy ending, like bing bang we're done, like answer to all the questions. I love it when it kind of leaves you with like wondering of like, wait, what happens next, or what happened with that one character, or that little plot point was left unresolved on purpose, either for the purposes of going into a sequel, or even when it's just a standalone and you're kind of left wondering, you're like, what happened, or what happened to that character? Why did the author kind of leave us hanging like that? I really like that. I know some people don't like that at all. They like everything neatly wrapped up, and they don't want to have any questions at the end, especially if it's a standalone. But I actually really enjoy that. I like having that kind of wondering of like wanting more and wanting to know more about the characters and more of what happened. I like that. Number 6 is the one day a year trope. This is like when the characters either they meet up one day out of the year, or we only see the same day every year throughout a span of years of their life. I love this trope because it kind of is an interesting narrative style. It shows you how characters change over time, how relationships change over time. I think it's like a really interesting way to look at things. Another kind of similar trope that kind of goes with this one is everything in one night or in one day, where the story takes place all in the span of one night or one day. And it doesn't necessarily have to be like a short story. It could be a really long book and just really draw out and show everything that has happened in that one day or that one moment. I really like it because, again, you get to see just how much can truly happen in one day and how every day matters. 5 is the unreliable narrator trope. I love this trope because it kind of adds a lot of suspense to the story. It adds that layer of like, wait, is this really happening? Can we trust that this is what actually happened, or is it not? I love that. Again, I think this is a trope that not many people enjoy. A lot of people, like, when they read a book, they want to know what's happening. They want to be able to trust the narrator and like have a linear storyline. But I kind of like this because it kind of gives you the different options, like, oh, did this happen, or did this happen, or is it actually this? Is he or she even telling us the truth in this, that we think this is what happened, but are they lying to us again? Like, I just like the mystery aspect of it and the suspense aspect of it, that you can't really trust the narrator because, and you get like little hints from other characters that it's especially good when you don't know that the narrator is unreliable at first. Like, you think you can trust them, and then little things start happening, like other characters might drop little hints, and it's like little breadcrumbs, and you start picking them up, and you're like, wait a minute, like, I don't think this is suspect. Like, I don't think I can trust them. I love that. I think it just adds a lot of tension and suspense to a story, whether it's like actually a thriller or if it's just a contemporary, especially just a contemporary, and it's just like, why are they saying this? Like, what is happening? I love that. Number 4 is not what they seem. So this is a character that is not what they seem. Maybe on the outside they look really scary or really tough, but on the inside they're a big softie, or they look like a little soft, innocent character, and on the inside they're like evil. I love this trope. I think this is a really interesting trope. It could be done so horribly. It could go really bad and be really cheesy, but when it's done well, it's a really interesting character arc. I think it's like one of the best ways to have like different kind of characters, and I especially love when there's two foil characters, that it's like one character looks scary but is secretly soft, and one character is, looks soft but is secretly scary. I love that. And then they fall in love. I mean, why not? Going along with that and kind of playing off of that, for number 3 would be the enemies to friends to lovers. A lot of people like enemies to lovers, but I just think that's why? That's too much. That's just, it doesn't make sense. I love it when they're enemies and then slowly, as much as they hate each other, they start having to work together. They're forced to work together for some scenario. And over time they become friends, like reluctantly. And then they become like lovers and they fall in love. I love that trope. I mean, it makes more sense to me than just enemies and then one day they fall in love. Like, enemies to friends to lovers is where it's at. Alright, and this second trope is one that I never hear people talk about, but it's honestly, I mean, these are my top 2 favorites. I love these so much, and I want more books that use both of these. Number 2 is letters from the lost. So a letter or a video or a diary, some kind of, material or written note or something left by someone who has passed on and is given to the protagonist. So, like, maybe their parent died and they left behind letters, or, their husband or wife died and they left behind letters. Like, one of my favorite movies of all time is P.S. I Love You. And it's so cheesy. It's such a total rom-com, but I love it. I love it so much. And I love this trope because not only does it kind of give you, it kind of shows you, what the person that has passed on had hoped or thought about that other person, and, but it also helps protagonists like go through this emotional journey. They're grieving the person that they've lost, and they're changing and moving on, and their life is changing beyond what that person that was writing the letters knew about that person. You know, like, time changes you and grief changes you as a person. And so it's just an interesting way to see how people change, and how even though that person has passed on, that there's still a presence in that person's life. I just love it. Oh, I love it. I want more books. If you guys have any recommendations specifically for this one, please leave them down below because I will read them. I love that trope. And my favorite trope of all time, in any book, in any world, in anything, in any movie, in any TV show, is found family. Now, I know this is a favorite for a lot of different people, and for good reason. I think found family is like literally one of the best tropes of all time. Whether that's somebody has like lost their family, or they're an orphan, or you know they were adopted and they're looking for their biological family. Oh, it's just such a good trope, guys. It is so pure. I mean, there's just so many possibilities. Like I said, you could be adopted and looking for your biological family, or siblings that were separated and put into different foster homes, finding each other again, or characters that just, like in a lot of different fantasy novels, or Six of Crows, for example, they're all kind of like orphans, like don't really have like a family, and then they find each other and they become friends that, you know, eventually friends turn into your family. Or even my personal favorite, band families. Like, they are all touring and on the road together for so long that they're beyond friends, and they become like a band family, and just your family on the road. Or I love that. So yeah, that is my favorite trope of all time. It's so pure. It's so good. I love it. It's just, it warms my heart. So that was 10 tropes that I really enjoy in books. Please make sure you leave your recommendations for these tropes down below so that you can help me find new books for my TBR, and we can talk about any of these tropes that we found that have been in books that we've both read. Because I would love to make bookish friends and talk about the books that I've read with you guys. I'm going to head out now, but thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a like down below, comment, and subscribe. And remember, enjoy the journey. Bye, guys.
Ever since the day that you went away.